She mocked a beggar in front of everyone. But when he slowly pulled out a single card, everything went silent. Because in the next second, the man she humiliated was no longer a beggar. He was the billionaire owner of the very company she worked for. And what he revealed after that moment didn't just shock her. It destroyed everything she believed about success, power, and love. But the real question is, why did he come back disguised as a beggar in the first place? And what role did she really play in his rise from nothing to everything? Stay till the end, because the truth changes everything. I remember the taste of dust. Dry, bitter, clinging to my throat. That day, I stood outside my own company, dressed in torn clothes, testing a world that once rejected me. Years ago, I was truly that man. Hungry, invisible, sleeping on cold pavement, with dreams no one believed, except her. She found me one night, shivering under a broken streetlight, her voice soft, but her eyes unafraid. "You are not finished," she said. I laughed then, a broken, empty sound. But she stayed. She gave me food, then faith, then something far more dangerous, belief. I failed her first, lost money, trusted the wrong people, fell into betrayal that burned like fire. I remember her silence, not cruel, just heavy with truth. "Stand again," she whispered, "or lose yourself forever." So I stood, worked until my hands bled, until my name meant something, until the world that ignored me began to listen. And now, I was back, dressed as the past I escaped. She did not recognize me. Her heels clicked sharply, her voice colder than I remembered. "Move away," she said, disgust in her eyes. The same woman who once saw my soul. My chest tightened, not with anger, but something deeper, pain. I searched her face for the kindness that saved me, but success had changed her. Or perhaps it had changed me. People watched, waiting. I slowly reached into my pocket, my fingers trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of truth, because in that moment, I was about to reveal everything, not just who I had become, but who she had become, and whether love had survived the climb. My hand closed around the card. Her eyes narrowed, and I wondered if this moment would break us, or rebuild everything we once were. My fingers tightened around the card. A lifetime of hunger, of nights without hope, pressed into that small piece of truth. I lifted it slowly. Her eyes followed, impatient, unaware. "Sir, do not waste my time," she said, her voice sharp, cutting deeper than she knew. I placed the card in her hand. For a second, she did not look. Then she did. Silence fell. The noise around us faded, like the world itself stepped back. Her breath caught. Color drained from her face. "No," she whispered. Her fingers trembled, as if the paper had turned to fire. I said nothing, because some truths do not need words. I did not know," she stammered, her voice breaking. I looked at her, not as a billionaire, not as a stranger, but as the man who once survived because of her. "You knew me once," I said softly. The words landed heavier than anger. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "I changed," she admitted, barely audible. So did I, but not in the way she thought. I stepped closer, close enough to see the conflict inside her, the guilt, the shame, and something else, fear, not of losing a job, but of losing herself. "You taught me dignity," I said, my voice steady, yet carrying every scar. "Even when I had nothing." Her lips trembled, And now, I continued, you stand where I once stood. She shook her head, as if denying the truth. But truth does not fade. It waits. Her knees weakened, not from power, but from realization. I forgot, she whispered. Those words hurt more than the insult, because forgetting is how people lose their soul. I turned slightly, looking at the building behind us. Everything I built, every sacrifice, every lesson she once gave me. And in that moment, I had a choice: to punish or to remind. My hand extended toward her, not as a test, but as something far more dangerous: forgiveness. Her eyes widened, and just as she reached out, hesitating between shame and hope, I felt my past and future collide, because what I would say next would not only define her, it would define the man I had become. Her fingers hovered just inches from mine, shaking, uncertain, as if one touch could shatter everything. I did not move. I let her choose, because love and truth can never be forced. A tear slipped down her cheek. I do not deserve this, she said, her voice fragile, like the girl I once knew. You deserved me when I had nothing, I replied, quiet, steady. The air between us grew heavy, filled with memories of cold nights, shared bread, silent prayers. She finally placed her hand in mine, warm, yet trembling. Not the grip of confidence, but of someone afraid to fall again. I held it gently, not as a billionaire, but as a man who once owed her everything. Walk with me, I said. She hesitated, glancing at the crowd, the whispers, the judgment. Then she nodded. Step by step, we moved inside. The same doors that once refused me opened without question. The lobby lights were bright, almost blinding, but I saw only her. Her silence spoke louder than words. I built all this, I said slowly, with the strength you gave me. She looked around, then back at me. Pain flickered in her eyes. And I lost myself, she admitted. I stopped walking, turning to face her fully. Then find yourself again, I said, not as an order, but as hope. Her breathing deepened, as if those words reached somewhere broken inside. I was tired, she confessed. Tired of being weak, of being poor, of being afraid. I understood, more than she knew. But strength without kindness, I said, becomes cruelty. She closed her eyes, letting the truth settle. For a moment, she leaned forward, not in pride, but in surrender. And I saw it. The same woman who once saved me, still there, buried, but not gone. My chest tightened, because this was not about power or success. It was about who we chose to be when life gave us everything, or took it all away. I reached into my coat again, not for wealth, not for status, but for something far more dangerous. A second chance. As I placed it before her, her eyes widened once more. And in that fragile moment, I wondered if she would accept redemption or run from it. Again, her gaze locked onto what I held. Not money, not power, but a simple folder, worn at the edges. She frowned slightly, confused. I kept this, I said, my voice softer now. Her fingers moved slowly as she opened it. Inside, old papers, creased, fragile, memories. Her breath caught, because the first page was written in her handwriting. A plan. For me. For us. A future she once believed in. when no one else did. "I wrote this years ago," she whispered. "Yes," I said, "and I followed every word." Her lips parted, shaking. "You said I would rise." A tear slipped again. "You said I would build something that helps others stand again." Her knees weakened, and she sat down slowly, as if the weight of her past had returned all at once. "I became everything I hated," she said, her voice breaking apart. I knelt beside her. "Not above. Never above." "You became lost," I corrected gently. "Not finished." She looked at me, searching, hoping, fearing. "I pushed people away," she admitted. "I chose pride over kindness, again and again." Each word, a confession. Each breath, a step closer to truth. The lobby had grown quiet, but this moment belonged only to us. I took the final page and turned it toward her. Blank. She stared at it, confused. "This," I said, "is what comes next." Her hands trembled as they touched the empty space. "A chance to write again?" she asked. Yes. The word carried no judgment, only possibility. Her shoulders shook, not from weakness, but release. Years of regret, unspoken guilt, silent battles, all breaking at once. "I am afraid," she admitted. I nodded. "So was I." I stood slowly, offering her my hand again, not as a savior, but as a partner. This time, her eyes met mine, and I saw it. A spark, faint, fragile, but real, as she began to rise, holding that blank page, ready to choose who she would become next. I leaned closer, because what I was about to ask her would change everything, for both of us. Her breath trembled as she stood, still holding the blank page, as if it weighed more than the world. I watched her closely, not as someone who had power over her, but as someone who once almost lost everything because of choices like this. "Tell me," I said quietly, "what do you see when you look at it?" Her eyes softened, glossy with unshed tears. "I see fear," she admitted. "I see all the times I chose pride over people." A pause. "I see you standing in the rain, and I walked past you." My chest tightened. Yes, that moment still lived inside me, but I did not interrupt, because truth must finish itself. "I see a man I did not recognize," she continued, "and now I realize I never truly looked at him." Silence fell again, heavy, honest. I stepped closer. "So do you want to keep looking away?" I asked. "Or do you want to build something different?" Her fingers tightened around the paper. "I do not know if I deserve another chance." The words came out broken. "Human." I nodded slowly. "None of us deserve it." That made her look up, surprised. "But we still get it," I added. "And what we do with it is what defines us." Her lips parted slightly, as if something inside her finally shifted. Not suddenly, but deeply. She looked around the massive lobby again, the place she once walked through with pride, and now with humility. "I spent years climbing," she whispered, "only to realize I was climbing the wrong wall." A faint breath of a laugh escaped me, soft, bitter, understanding. "I built my empire thinking it would make me whole," I said, "but it only gave me silence." She turned toward me fully. For the first time, no arrogance, no defense, just honesty. "What happens now?" she asked. The question hung in the air, like a door waiting to be opened. I looked at her hand still holding the blank page, and felt something I had not felt in years. Uncertainty, not fear, but possibility.
Now,
I said slowly.
we decide what kind of legacy survives us.
Her eyes widened slightly, as if she understood the weight of those words. And just as she was about to speak again, the elevator doors behind us quietly opened. Footsteps echoed from within. Someone important had arrived. And everything was about to change again. The elevator doors opened wider, and the sound of polished shoes echoed through the hall. I did not turn immediately. I already knew who it was. My board members. The same men who once called me unfit, when I was still building from nothing. She stiffened beside me, her grip tightening on the blank page.
I think,
she whispered,
they are here for you. Yes,
I said calmly.
but not for the reason they think.
3 men stepped out. Expensive suits, cold expressions, measured eyes. The leader spoke first.
We received reports of unusual activity at headquarters.
His gaze shifted to me, then to her, and then to the folder in her hands. Suspicion flickered.
This meeting was not scheduled.
I finally turned, facing them fully. Years of struggle, betrayal, rejection, all standing in front of me now.
I did not call a meeting,
I said. My voice was steady, controlled.
I called a decision.
The room fell silent. She looked at me quickly, confused.
What decision?
She whispered. I stepped forward, just enough for the board to feel the weight of my presence.
The future of this company,
I said. One of them scoffed.
You cannot make unilateral changes like this.
I reached into my coat once more and placed a sealed document on the reception table. Ownership transfer papers. Fully signed. Legally binding. Their confidence cracked slightly. The leader frowned.
You are stepping down?
I shook my head. No. A pause.
I am correcting the foundation.
I turned slightly toward her. She froze, realizing all eyes were shifting to her now.
What is this?
She asked softly. Her voice barely held together. I met her gaze. Not as a billionaire, not as a boss, but as the man she once saved.
This,
I said,
is the first person I ever trusted.
The board members murmured in disbelief. She stepped back, shaking her head.
I do not understand.
But before I could answer, one of the board members suddenly spoke again, and what he revealed next shattered the silence completely. The board member's voice was low, but sharp enough to cut through the room.
We ran background verification on her.
My jaw tightened. She froze instantly.
What?
She whispered. He continued.
There are gaps in her past employment history. She was removed from a previous firm under suspicion of internal leaks.
The air changed. Heavier. Colder. I saw it immediately. The shift in their eyes. Judgment returning like old poison. Her hands trembled violently now.
That is not true,
she said quickly.
I was framed. I proved my innocence.
But no one listened. Not yet. The room began to close in on her, like walls of doubt. I stepped forward and raised my hand. Silence fell again, not because of fear, but authority earned through pain.
I reviewed every file myself,
I said. My voice was calm, but final. She was cleared. A pause.
But that is not why she stands here today.
The board members exchanged looks. Confused. Uneasy. I turned slightly toward her. And for the first time, she looked fragile. Not weak, but human.
You asked me what happens now,
I said softly. Her eyes lifted slowly. Waiting. I took a breath. The kind that carries years of struggle inside it.
Now,
I continued.
I stopped building alone.
The words landed heavily. She blinked, unsure she heard correctly. I faced the board fully again.
This company was built on survival. Now it will be rebuilt on truth.
One of them protested.
This is not procedure.
I cut him off. No.
Neither was my life when I had nothing.
That silenced him. Completely. I turned back to her and stepped closer. Close enough that only she could hear me now.
You carried me when I was invisible. You believed in a man the world discarded.
Her eyes filled again, but she did not look away.
So I will not build my future on people who only believe in power.
A long pause. Then I gently placed the blank page back into her hands. But this time, I added something else. A pen. Her breath caught.
I cannot do this alone,
I said quietly. Her fingers closed around it slowly, as if afraid it might disappear. Behind us, the board waited for a verdict. The company waited for control. But between us, something far more fragile was forming. Trust. And as she looked down at the empty page, ready to write the first line, the doors behind us opened once again, and another voice called out. Firm. Familiar. Unexpected. The voice behind us was firm. Measured. Familiar in a way that made the air tighten.
I was not invited,
it said. Everyone turned. A woman stepped forward. Sharp eyes. Simple elegance. Quiet authority. My past CFO. The one who left during my darkest financial collapse. She studied the room first. Then me. Then the board.
I heard there is a restructuring happening,
she said calmly. No fear in her tone. Only certainty. One board member frowned.
This is a private executive matter.
She smiled slightly. Not anymore. She raised a sealed envelope.
And now it is audited.
The room shifted again. My pulse steadied. She always came prepared. Her eyes finally landed on the girl beside me, and softened. Just a little.
So it is true,
she said.
You brought her back.
A silence followed, heavy with meaning. The girl beside me tightened her grip on the pen.
I do not understand any of this,
she whispered. I looked at her.
Then do not try to understand everything at once. Just take the next line.
Her breathing slowed slightly. The CFO stepped closer.
This company has been running on fear for years,
she said to the board.
Fear of losing power. Fear of change. Fear of him coming back different.
Her gaze shifted to me.
And he did come back different.
A board member snapped.
And what exactly is your role in this?
She did not hesitate.
I am here to ensure this company survives its own truth.
The room went silent again, but not hostile. Unsteady. Like a structure realizing its cracks had been exposed. I turned slightly toward the girl, and noticed something new in her eyes. Not confusion anymore, but decision forming. Slow. Delicate. Real. She lifted the pen, hovering over the blank page.
I am afraid,
she said again, her voice quieter this time. I nodded. I know. A pause. Right anyway. Her hand trembled. Just once. Then steadied. Behind us. The board waited. The CFO watched. The past pressed against every wall. And as the pen finally touched the paper, forming the first word of something new, the elevator chimed again, signaling another arrival. And this time, no one in the room knew whether it would bring salvation or destruction. The elevator doors opened slowly, and no one spoke. A quiet man stepped out, older, calm, wearing no expression of power, only recognition. He looked at me first, then at her, then at the board frozen in uncertainty.
I have seen enough,
he said softly. My father, the man who once told me I would never survive without structure. The room went still. Even the CFO straightened. He walked forward slowly, his eyes landing on the page she was writing.
"What is she building?"
he asked. I answered honestly,
"Something I could not build alone."
He studied me for a long moment, then nodded, not in approval of success, but in understanding of change. He turned to the board.
"You are all afraid of losing control."
A pause.
"But control is not leadership."
Silence deepened. Then he looked at her.
"You are not here by accident,"
he said gently. She swallowed hard.
"I am just trying not to fail again."
He smiled faintly.
"Then you are finally ready to succeed."
The tension in the room began to dissolve. Not because power shifted, but because truth finally spoke louder. One by one, the board lowered their gaze, the resistance fading into reflection. My father placed a hand on my shoulder.
"You built an empire,"
he said.
"but she is teaching you how to keep it human."
My throat tightened. For years, I thought success meant standing above others. But now I understood. It meant standing with them. The girl finished writing and looked at the page. Not empty anymore, but beginning. She handed it to me, and I read the first line. Not of a contract, but of a promise. A company built on dignity, not fear. On people, not power. I looked at her, and for the first time, she was not afraid of the future. Neither was I. The moral is simple. We are not defined by how far we rise alone, but by who we choose to lift while rising. Because success without humanity is only another form of emptiness. And as the lights of the city glowed outside, I finally understood. The story was never about becoming a billionaire. It was about becoming a better human being.